Are you ready to unplug? Are you ready to connect with the brightest minds in tech? Then join us for TechCon Unplugged 2023. From September 7th through the 10th, you'll have the chance to connect with a community of like-minded tech professionals who share your passion and drive. Attend hands-on workshops and breakout sessions to learn new skills and gain fresh perspectives. It's not just about the work. There's also plenty of time to unwind, relax, and have fun with your fellow attendees. Akko says it's where the magic happens. Don't miss this incredible opportunity to unplug, recharge, and take your tech career to the next level. Get your early bird tickets now at TechConUnplugged.com. Hello, friends. Uncle Marv here with another episode of the IT Business Podcast. We're starting off a little different because I have an in-studio guest, and we're a little late starting because it rained here in Florida this afternoon, and my guest was stuck in traffic for a little bit, so we're just getting started. I'm going to introduce him real quick and then get the show going. Matt Mulcahy from Prosource.
Yes, sir.
You made it.
I did. It might have been faster to fly, but we'll take what we can get.
Yep. Coming in from Kendall, Florida, south of the border.
Yeah, very south.
All right, folks. You saw the caption for the title of the show. What did you do to celebrate National Alligator Day? So we're going to tackle that and a lot more things on tonight's show. Let's get started. All right, folks. Hello. Welcome back to the show. This is the Wednesday live show for the IT Business Podcast, the last Wednesday of May. Actually, one day before hurricane season starts.
Exciting.
And especially with all this rain we've been flooded now, twice in the last week?
Yeah, I'd say so. It's rained about every single day in the last 2 weeks.
That doesn't happen here in Florida, folks. So I've got, actually, you're going to be the last Florida man MSP on the show. I tried to spend all of April and May interviewing MSPs and techs from the state of Florida.
I'm honored. Thanks so much.
So I mentioned earlier that you were coming up for Kendall, but that's not where your company's actually based out of.
It's not. We're in Orlando, Florida, specifically Oviedo, which is a suburb in the Northeast.
Oviedo. That's up near, let's see, Maitland.
Yeah, like directly east of
East
Maitland,
of Maitland.
Yep.
Winter Park. There we go. DeLand, all that in that area.
Yeah, like the northeastern corner of Orlando.
All right. Now, I was going to ask a political question, but we can't. We cannot do that on this show. Let's just say that Mickey is in a battle. All right, folks, let us do some housekeeping. You saw at the beginning, if you were watching the video, TechCon is a conference coming up this September in New Jersey. So I encourage you all, if you have not got your tickets, head over to TechConUnplugged.com and get that. I will be your MC. I have no idea what that means, but the planning committee is working on it. I know that they've got some great breakout sessions. They've got some keynote stuff working. Some presentations are being planned, and food plus is all being taken care of. And why don't we take a quick break here and say we've got a visitor from Durham, North Carolina. Mr. Mark Lee, thanks for saying hello on the show. I spent 3 years in the town of Wake Forest and worked in Durham as a security guard at BASF. We don't make a lot of the products that you buy. We make them better. That's their logo. Nice little place up there. North Carolina, great place. You ever been?
Yeah, I go every year.
You go every year?
Yeah.
Where do you go?
Piney Creek. It's a small town about 2 hours north of Charlotte. It's in the middle of the woods.
Piney, north of Charlotte.
North of Charlotte. Yeah, right on the Virginia border.
So would that be, let's see, Kannapolis? Is that near there?
Not sure. It's near like Boone.
Boone? Okay.
Yeah, like 45 minutes from Boone. West Jefferson. Sparta, if you've ever heard of any of those. They're pretty small.
No, I don't think I've heard of Sparta.
Yeah, it's in the sticks. It's pretty far out there. It's my one escape from Miami per year.
Yeah, a lot of people do. A lot of people do. All right. So I mentioned TechCon Unplugged, and also let everybody know I will be in Denver in 2 weeks for the PAX 8 Beyond conference, hanging out with my good buddy Rob Ray there, and be doing some on-site interviews as a member of the press during that conference. So you'll see a lot of shows, hopefully streamed live depending on the internet, but definitely audio podcast after the fact. And then at the end of June, I will be in Tampa for the ASCII Edge. I think that's what it's called. You don't attend that one, do you?
Not that one, no.
Are you headed to Denver?
Not this year, no. We've got some conferences coming up on our calendar.
It's a lot of conferences.
Yeah, between the vendors and promoting ourselves, it's pretty busy.
So I was doing a demo this afternoon with Cyberfox folks. That's why I put that question in the thing there. So doing a demo with them, and they were asking me about all the conferences, and IT Nation Secure is coming up, but I won't be attending that one. And then a couple of others. I said, look, I can only do 1 or 2 conferences a month, let alone.
Yeah, it gets overwhelming.
Yeah.
Still have customers to tend to as well.
That is true.
Yeah, can't forget about them.
Can't forget about them. So let's talk real quick about your company, just so that people get a sense. You're based out of Orlando, Prosource. And how long have you guys been around?
We've been around for 16 years now.
Okay.
Yep. So 2006, so pushing 17.
All right. Now, you've not been with them the whole time.
I have not. I've been there just over 8 years.
8 years. Okay.
Yep.
And I should tell everybody your title. You are, is it the Director of Business Development?
Yes, that's my title.
Which just means it's super sales.
Sure, that's one way to frame it. It's different every day almost, I'd say.
All right.
In terms of what I'm working on.
And we met, just so that everybody knows, at a partner event for App River back in December.
Yep.
And then we saw you again at
the HPE
event,
yeah,
yes.
At Miami Beach.
And you were telling us some pretty good experiences from your business. And I'm like, ooh, this sounds like somebody I should get on the podcast.
Yeah, I think I've had a pretty unconventional route to where I am, switching from the technical side to the sales side. And I know that's a lot of angst for founders and owners making that transition.
Well, it's weird because I think most techies aren't good at sales.
Not by nature.
So how did you end up, let's just start with your journey. How did you end up getting into the sales side of it?
Sure. You know, I always like solving problems, and in IT, you're solving problems on a daily basis, and they're micro, right? You're fixing a computer, you're fixing a switch, maybe that's impacting a couple of people. But what I saw is that fixing things was my passion, and I wanted to make a larger impact. So how do you do that? You know, you make transformational changes to technology that impacts broader swaths of a business. So, you know, I was very vocal with that, and Lee's the owner of Prosource, and he was always supportive of my want to do those types of things. So I moved into like a technical account management role. Okay. So I was more kind of a liaison between the service and the sales. So it was like my first step or foray into that world. Did that for about 2 years. And, you know, we have a little bit of an odd makeup where Lee, the founder, is very technical. He architected our data center. He's very deep in the weeds, and he's very proud of that. But someone still needs to do the marketing and sales things to make, drive us past those thresholds and break those ceilings. So he recognized that, and he recognized that I had an interest in it, not that I was proficient in it. And we can talk about all the pain I've gone through, learning some lessons. Right. But he gave me a shot to take the reins and really try to help us grow. And, I've been doing that for about 5 years now.
All right. So let's take a quick step back and talk about the makeup of the company, because let's see, Did I read you guys are at like a baker's dozen in size now, or?
Yeah, we were at about 15. We lost a few. We're backfilling, as you know, it's always up and down,
Right.
and hopefully just up
Right.
overall. But yeah, we're around 15 employees.
Okay. And you have a vertical. I know that we've talked about healthcare a lot,
Mhm.
but what other verticals are you guys proficient in? Because you know, lots on your website.
Yeah. We recently actually just funneled down to specifically marketing towards just healthcare. It doesn't necessarily mean that we'll turn away people that aren't healthcare oriented, but our focus going forward is to attract healthcare clients.
All right. And the fact that your owner is super technical, is that the reason you guys have your own data center?
Yeah, definitely. He loves that place. I mean, if he's watching, he's probably laughing. But you know, that's his happy place. He goes in there, SAN maintenance, switch maintenance, new firewalls, whatever it might be. He's going to be there with one of the techs, probably showing them the ins and outs. But we don't own the whole building. We're in a tier 3 facility.
Okay.
So N+1, and they provide the power and the cooling and the physical structure. Everything else is on us.
All right. So they give you the rack space and you guys just fill it and go.
We do the circuits, we do the hardware, but everything else,
okay,
we're VMware partners. So we've kind of standardized on that whole Horizon platform for our cloud services. And we think it provides a better experience because we own those solutions end to end, as opposed to, you know, having to pick up the phone and call Azure or AWS if we're hosting it with a third party and being reliant on their support to help us get to the end of an issue.
All right. So I've only looked at VMware once, so help me out here. So the Horizon product is the more robust of the products. It allows you to host servers. You can do, what is it, the VM motion, to where it load balances automatically. And
the Horizon piece specifically is about the delivery of the cloud services. So those cloud applications and cloud desktops. So how they get to you. So you have the portal. They have the Blast protocol, which is specific to VMware. They've built and licensed that. Less latent, you know, encrypts everything. It just performs better. Print management, we know from the cloud and VDI, can always be a challenge. So that's kind of the user-facing piece that drives a much better customer experience, where what you're talking about, you know, is the virtualization layer in terms of all the products I use there, vSAN, vSphere, all those things that work together.
That's what I remember that.
They all work together jointly to provide the platform to then build that Horizon experience.
All right. Does that mean that all of your clients are full VDI?
No.
Okay.
I'd say about 60% of our revenue comes from the data center. So we have various workloads, just VDI applications, just hosting web applications. We have a crazy 3D engineering build right now that we built with these big NVIDIA Tesla graphics cards. They literally walk these laser scanners through airports, and it reverse engineers the schematics. And that's all got to get rendered and everything. So they dump it into our data center, and it, crunches that data.
So are you building servers with those NVIDIA cards? Like, what is the one? Is RTX? Is that the popular model now?
That's more on the consumer side. Okay. So we're talking about like NVIDIA Tesla, so more of the commercial grade
I have no
video
idea
cards. Yeah, they're like $10,000 a piece. They're insane, and they're physically like this big. It's awesome.
Okay.
But that's all the geeky stuff we get excited over.
So would that be architects doing their AutoCAD stuff up there?
Yeah, exactly. So they use a different program called Pharaoh. But very similar in terms of taking that raw data and really crunching it and needing that, high power computing in order to.
Okay, we got to talk, because I have an event services company that wants to move to the cloud, and we're trying to figure out what to do with their graphics department. They've got about 10 graphic designers that half of them are on Macs, the rest are on Windows, and they've got to have those machines, but throwing them up in the cloud, we don't know what to do.
Like I said, we love the deep technical stuff. The owner is extremely proficient, and I have a technical background, so I love digging in as well. And that's really what we pride ourselves on.
So now, speaking of the technical background, because you weren't just a regular tech, if I remember, right?
I did a lot of different things. I mean, MSP techs, right? We got to kind of be a little bit of everything.
Yeah, but even before that, I mean, you didn't come from an engineering background. Let me see if I remember. You started out just kind of dinking around with machines on your own.
Yeah, I mean, breaking the home computer multiple times. downloading who knows what.
which you parlayed into a job, but then you just kept moving up and up technical wise.
Yeah.
But you had a specialty, if I remember, right?
I mean, I wouldn't, not explicitly.
Okay.
I mean, I gravitated towards one thing over another, maybe systems administration. So, just real quick, I was on the desktop side of my first job, Ultimate Software. Then I moved to a law firm overnight, doing like the network operations center, so like monitoring the global offices for a
Okay, I
national
remember
law
that.
firm. So just like kind of monitoring the Citrix systems and all of those, and fixing them or waking up the right people in the middle of the night to fix them, which was
Right.
no one loved me over there. So doing that, and then about 8 years ago, got a job at Prosource, interviewed at a dinky little kitchen table. Was a little scared. There were memes all over the walls, but I thought I fit in pretty well.
So my office not as bad.
Yeah. This is bigger than what I interviewed in. So took a chance, and it's been good to me.
Okay. All right. So now you start to make that transition from tech to business development. Now, I should probably ask you, first of all, what does that really mean in terms of your day-to-day?
Well, early for the first thing, I mean, stepping into that role and getting a look behind the scenes in terms of how we were pricing, margins, and all of those things, I had to get an understanding of what made sense that we should be selling,
Right.
And organizing all of that, and then understanding. Well, I'll back up and give a shout out, because the first thing we did was hire a consultant.
Okay.
The first thing I said was, I have no idea what I'm doing. And I said, but I'm willing to try. So we hired Adam. He's the CRO at Cyberfox.
Oh.
Shout out Adam.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a a great mentor for me. Taught me a lot early on. Helped us kind of transition to that original managed services, because we were a break fix retainer kind of shop at the time, and we knew we needed to transition to that. So we worked with Adam for a bit, and he kind of helped us, give us a kick in the butt in the right direction.
Okay.
Recognize that managing my workload from a sales side out of ConnectWise was near impossible. Because when you talk about CRMs and functions of a CRM and working efficiently, that platform doesn't really have that. So I picked up Pipedrive, which is a very basic deal management, workload management type of tool to just kind of keep myself organized, because our ConnectWise instance was not really built for sales.
Right. So I was going to say, you guys probably kept ConnectWise but then your stuff you did out of.
Right. So we forkloaded kind of my little workload into Pipedrive, and we had some integrations to kind of, once deals closed, it would kind of seamlessly flow into opportunities. We used that for about 2 years, and then we realized that we were lacking on marketing, and we needed marketing automation and those things, and automated outreach, and Pipedrive did not have it. So we moved to HubSpot. And I built all these and built all the integrations. So not only was I evaluating it, I was also building them out, which kind of gave me a better handle of how I could, make myself more efficient.
Okay. And then at the same time, you're actually going out and marketing the company.
Yeah.
But you're also going to a lot of these industry events at the same time, as opposed to, the CTO or somebody else on your department. So how does that play back at the company, that you're the one that's, going out and marketing, you're the one going to these events, you're doing the learning for all these things?
It's challenging. I mean, bringing that knowledge back and bringing those trends back and convincing the team that this is what we need to be doing can be, frustrating at times, because you feel like you're on an island a little bit. But I'm doing it for the greater good, and for the most part, everyone gets on board, and it's a matter of education, just like sales is education. It's educating the team is, hey, these are the trends, and this is why. This is what we need to be doing, and here's the data, just like we do with our clients. So everything in sales is education. Convincing people to, agree with you is education. So I really try to approach it that way.
So when it comes to the stack, like I said, we were at the HP event, we were at the Apple event. I know you guys are big with, we talked about Ingenious earlier. You saw my switches over in the corner. So are you involved in a lot of those I don't
too
want to say
often.
decisions, but are you helping to drive, hey, this is what's going to make us more efficient as, an MSP?
I used to be more involved, but I can't be involved in everything,
Right.
and I need to be focused on what my role is. So yeah, I mean, it's more so tell me what we're doing, and I'll give my input. And if I really dislike something, I'll let it be known. But I try to stay out of those decisions. I just kind of help make sure, are the margins right? What's our gross profit, gross margin, and what should we sell it at?
All right. So now getting back to the development side, you guys, let me try to see if I remember this from the event. Did you double your revenue in 2 years?
Last year was one of our best years. We had 44% year-over-year growth.
44%.
Yeah,
okay.
44% year-over-year growth. So that was big. And we can talk about that year specifically, but
well, let's go ahead. What was it that hit that bump? I mean,
it was two big accounts, really.
Okay.
Primarily, we had a lot of little deals trickling in through like an inbound funnel. We're an Intuit partner, so we host QuickBooks. So yeah, exactly. A lot of people hate it, and we kind of found the secret recipe.
Okay.
To host it. So we get a lot of trickle in, small accounting firms,
Right.
4 or 5 user type deals, and those are nice and small, but they don't really move the needle like we're looking to do. So
Right.
we actually got a great account off LinkedIn, of all places.
Really?
People think it's dead, but it's only dead if you don't use it in the right way. So don't just relentlessly DM people, because
Right.
everybody hates that. You have to be involved, and you have to be contributing to a conversation and be a subject matter expert. So we got lucky. The owner had mentioned something, and his ex boss saw it, and it started a conversation, and it led to us working with like a telecommunications company.
Nice.
International. And then another one was a wickedly well-timed phone call the day a giant cyber attack happened to a company, and they brought us in that same day. But it's always interesting to kind of rewind the clock and look at how these accounts manifest. So, I made that phone call because I made a connection with a person at a conference that introduced me to someone else. And I just happened to call her that day that they had a cyber attack. So timing is almost everything in sales.
Right.
So it's critical to, understand those cycles and the timing in your activities.
Well, a lot of it too is being active, being out there in terms of either networking, being involved in the community to some degree. And so obviously that's your role.
Yeah.
Most of us don't have somebody in that role, and it's the owner trying to.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've had a lot of help over the last couple of years. So I mentioned Adam, that he helped kind of give us the initial kick in the butt. We've also been working with the fractional CEO.
Oh, okay.
He's helped us implement, EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System, or Traction. You might have heard of that book.
Yep. Gino Wickman.
Yep. So we're like 80%, Traction shop. We're not definitely 100%, but we're pretty good with our weeklies, with our, our scorecard metrics and all those things. And that's really helped organize us. And, Jason Knight helps coach MSPs to, help them take it to the next level. And one of those functions within EOS is having an accountability chart. So, we said, we literally sat down for a day and said, what are all the things that Prosource needs to be doing to be successful? Marketing, sales, service, billing, everything. And we chunked them up into groups. And we said, someone has to be responsible for all this, and break them up. So, if you have an owner who's maybe more technical, not into the sales things, someone still has to do it. So, generally what you see with MSPs is around $2 million in annual revenue. You'll look for someone to kind of handle the sales stuff, or look to hire your first sales replacement. But, it's good to have someone at that growth stage calling, but you need someone, still doing the awareness piece to build that brand,
right?
Because or your callers aren't going to succeed.
Sorry, I'm taking notes here because that's a couple of different points that I had there. So being intentionally active is what we got there. So going through the Traction book obviously pushes you to think about that sort of stuff. Let me go back, because I'm working with somebody on that myself. Mm-hmm. In the beginning, when you had to formulate the pillars in the beginning, did you guys have to go back and like rethink some layers and adjust what you thought your goal was with the
Yeah,
business?
I mean, we've done it 3 or 4 times now since we started, because it's like, you know, when we started this, we had 4 businesses. There was Prosource Tech Consulting, Prosource Med Consulting, Prosource Cloud Services, Prosource Voice Services, all different websites, all different brands, all different legal entities.
And you ran them.
We had all split everything, thinking, you know, that was a, you know, part of the pain I said I would share, that, you know, don't do this. You know, we had split them from a liability perspective, thinking that would be better, but on the marketing side, to split that brand into 4 brands and manage all of that and be active across all of those channels is near impossible for a company of our size. So, you know, we've now since consolidated that and kind of made it a little more streamlined.
So there's another thing. All right. Is that how you got to the idea that you would niche down even more with your verticals?
We always knew we would. Well, we always had a feeling we would. You know, we used to say we can do it for everybody, and you know, anybody can do IT for everybody. It's a very commoditized industry nowadays. So the first step we took was to really say, we did an exercise with the table. Jason, our fractional CEO, flipped it sideways, blew our mind, and we, you know, forgot everything we thought we knew. So long story short, what we realized is that the companies that had compliance frameworks requiring them to adhere to best practices in technology were our best customers, because what we want to preach and what we want to implement are best practices in technology. So, you know, the first focus down we did was saying, hey, we'll focus in the compliance spaces, and, you know, also trying to understand those markets and be an expert in those compliance frameworks at the same time is very difficult when you're talking about 4 or 5 different industries. Yep. So, you know, healthcare, HIPAA, high tech. We were doing engineering, so you've got like NERC SIP on the critical infrastructure protection. You know, on the manufacturing side, CMMC is the buzzword.
Fintech with the accounting,
financial services, right? Fintech and all these other new changes that are coming down the pipe. So, yeah, I mean, trying to be expert in all those frameworks and have our staff help align our customers to those frameworks and the tech is just, it can be a lot for people.
Yeah. So I'm not as big as you guys, but we're going through a lot of the same things where trying to streamline what it is you're trying to do and who you're trying to serve is a big thing to consider. And I made this comment to somebody today, and it's probably somebody out there is going to, you know, want to slap my hand for saying this, but I always end up calling myself a boutique / artisan shop, because I'm not going after the numbers.
Right.
I'm not going after, you know, the endpoints per se. We're going to provide a customized service for the right customer that's willing to pay a little bit more for the attention and follow our framework.
Right.
And that's worked for me for years.
Yep.
And it's still working now. Yep. Not to say that it hasn't, but being at a place where I'm thinking, okay, I need to take that next step. How do I do it? Which is why we're looking at traction as well.
Right.
For that. So very interesting that we're in 2 different stages of business life in terms of size, revenue, and stuff, but really the same stage.
Oh yeah. in pain.
In pain. Yeah.
The pain never goes away.
Yeah. So I wanted to go back to the EOS. So a lot of that has to do with getting your services written out, your policies in place, that everybody understands, you know, what has to be done, when it has to be done, following the same checklist, if you may. So when we talked about Stack earlier, you mentioned that I don't know if we didn't say this on air, but you guys used to be a Sonic Wall shop.
Yeah.
But you're not anymore.
We're not.
You have been using Ingenious.
Sparingly now.
Yeah. Okay. And so what is your, I guess, general stack, and why has that changed in terms of philosophy?
From a hardware perspective, we're pretty much all in on Fortinet. I would say a lot of it is supply chain.
Okay.
They have very good lead times at the moment. The ecosystem you can build with them, and like you said, you know, it's a bit more boutique in terms of you're going to pay a little bit more, but the way that whole ecosystem works together, especially for partners, for the management of having multiple tenants, is very good. And if you look at the Gartner quadrants, they're a leader in terms of edge security. Pretty much all of their security services are in that top right quadrant, which is what we want to align ourselves with.
All right. So FortiGate, FortiCloud,
right?
Switches, routers, firewalls. What else do they do?
SD-WAN and stuff,
SD-WAN,
but we're pretty firewall, switches, APs. That's kind of the extent we go to right now. We don't really do more of the like SASE or any of those things at the moment. We don't do the secure access service edge.
All right. And you guys are a ConnectWise shop.
We are.
And AppRiver, Zix.
Yep. Yeah, AppRiver, Zix.
Whoever, OpenText, whoever they are.
Yeah, I know. It's tricky. Yeah, and then Sentinel-1 for EDR is we've really had a good experience with that platform. And we standardize all our clients on the top tier complete platform. So we're not coming in and giving you a 50-cent EDR just to say you have an EDR. We're giving you, the cream of the crop, premier subscription you can get from them. So we really try to aggressively enhance our client cybersecurity posture.
So they don't have a choice.
They don't have a choice.
There's not a
none of our clients
gold,
have a choice.
silver, bronze plan.
No. Well, we have our secure and secure plus are really how we structure our plans. The biggest difference is SOC SIM. So because that's such a high cost driver that you really have to jump to a new plan. And they're always in the works, so we'll probably have a newer version coming out. I know you had Threatlocker on there, and we're looking at bundling that in as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you, because the whole reason I brought that up, and I mentioned I had the demo today with Cyberfox. I had a talk with Threatlocker, but I couldn't get the demo done. That'll be in a week or so, because I'm looking at the PAM, Privileged Access Management.
That's what we use.
So you use
for all of our QuickBooks, hosted QuickBooks, because that was the driving reason we were looking at like a Cyberfox or Privileged Access Management solution with Threatlocker.
All right, so you're using Threatlocker for that.
We're using Threatlocker for the escalation, the installing the updates on QuickBooks, because it used to be 70 hours of technician work per month to run updates for our customers.
Yep.
And we're like, oh, well, we can just, buy this product and it costs us this much, and it's a tenth of the cost of their technician time.
Yeah. Now, are you using any of the other Threatlocker stuff, doing the ring fence?
Yeah, we're in the process of kind of building out that proof of concept to roll it out to. We have like a pilot group.
Okay.
Yeah, but we're in the midst of rolling that out.
All right. Did you consider Cyberfox?
We did. I demoed it. We had a very specific use case.
I mean, your buddy Adam.
Yeah. He's there. I went to their Topgolf event. I met a bunch of them. They're great people. We just had a very, very specific technical use case in the data center with how we have Active Directory set up and how we wanted the permissions to flow. That's about as far as I know. I leave it to the other guys.
I won't put you on the spot too much, but that was a question I wanted to ask. So let's go back to your data center. So you mentioned, the SOC SIEM stuff. Now, are you doing any of that inside your center, or are you partnering with somebody for that?
We have a partner in Miami, Atlas Inside. So they're another small business. We like them because they're about the same size we were. All they do are security services for MSPs. We met them down here, and we liked that they were small. We thought that what they said was great, and they've been good so far. We used to host the SIM piece and the aggregator in our data center. We've since let the vendor host it. They just are better at managing it, and it makes sense. But yeah, we've got a local partner for that. So we kind of avoided the not rapid fire. What's the big SOC player out there right now? SOC SIM.
SOC Solder?
No, it'll come to me. Can't remember right now. Too many vendors. It's the CrowdStrike. There we go.
Oh, CrowdStrike.
CrowdStrike. Sorry. Yeah. So we kind of avoided those more top tier vendors, went with some more local, little small.
So I told you before we got on air about the client, and the reason, folks, so Matt did get here a few minutes before the show, and he's in my studio B here, but I still have those 33 phones from that client that we offboarded last month. And by the way, just an update, we are completely done with them. Everything is done. I have wiped all the drives, sent them the certificates. The backups in the cloud have been wiped.
It's always a little nerve-wracking.
Well, we had one of their customers, one of their employees call today, because apparently some of the backups that I did from the cloud, I pulled down and put on the server so that they could have them. And the new company was supposed to take them off the server and put them on the new desktops. For some reason, can't find this person's data. An accounting girl, by the way. So it's kind of important stuff. And she called today and she's like, by any chance, do you still have my data? Nope.
Got to hold that line.
So all of that stuff was there, and I just went off topic.
It's bittersweet when those good customers get acquired, and you got to kind of say goodbye.
Yeah. So they're done 19 years.
Wow.
With that client.
We just had one that was 9.
Yeah.
Get acquired by a big hospital system, and we're still working with them in a small capacity, but yeah.
Hospital system. That's even more than my client. So mine was a dermatologic skin center type place. And so the company that absorbed them they're national. They've got about 200 locations, but I can tell you they are not unified. So
yeah, that's what I was saying before we were chatting, is that, you think these big enterprise organizations coming in and acquiring these companies have everything in tip top shape, and you get a little peek behind the curtain, and it's frightening.
It is. So I really was trying to go somewhere with the thought, and it just escaped me. So anyway, all right. So we have talked about your data center. We talked about your services and stack, your philosophy. Is there anything? Well, let me ask you this. Because of the size that you are, most of the companies that I've talked to that are about your size, they are struggling with what they call that plateau syndrome.
Yeah, the $5 million ceiling.
So are you guys, have you busted through it? Are you on your way through it? Do you have a plan? Where are we at?
Keep like almost getting to it.
Okay.
It's eternally frustrating, because you get there, you need to hold on to these clients, and they get acquired for no fault of our own, and we lose that revenue, or it diminishes. And then we got to backfill that. So, monitoring our churn and making sure we're controlling what we can in terms of, client life cycles is important, and keeping that pulse, because you don't want to get blindsided by anything when you're making projections and committing to, forward investments. So, we just kind of restarted our account management program. We were only doing account management for our managed IT customers, which is like 10 people. Because like I said, a lot of our revenue comes from the data center, and they're not traditional managed IT customers. But what we've said is that everyone gets account management now.
How were they not?
We were checking in with them. We were sending them newsletters, but it wasn't diligent and it wasn't methodical. So it was maybe a call once a year or something.
But okay, so you were still doing them management wise as endpoints and stuff.
Yeah.
But you weren't doing the QBRs or
right. We didn't have like a named account manager reaching out to them. Hey, how are you doing? One of the big pushes this year for us is to, there's a red circle where you provide services to your customer. And then there's the green circle to where you're helping your customer provide services to their customer. And we're trying to live in the green circle to say, hey, how are you leveraging technology to deliver a better experience to your customer or your patients? And how can we help? And that's really the drive this year with our account management push, is to say, we want to be more involved. We want to help you succeed. And we're obviously concerned about the cybersecurity and all of these things, but, you're never going to be as concerned with that stuff as we are. And that's not what you want to talk about. So let's talk about what you're concerned with, which is, hey, how do I keep my customers? How do I find new customers? And how do I provide a better customer experience? So
one of the questions that really worked for me this past year was I made an unannounced visit and got lucky that the managing partner was there, the office administrator was there, and they happened to be in a meeting. And they're like, come on in.
Timing.
And so we walked and we sat, and I asked, so what are you guys talking about? And they started, talking about the changes they needed to make. And I said, okay, that's fine. I said, so where do you see things going with your business in the next 3 to 5 years that you think I should be aware of?
Yep. You have to be on the same page.
And it was, no mention of, hey, are you planning, to keep me in your budget? It was just, tell me what I need to know and how can I help you? And they said, well, this is what our plans are. And they actually looked at me and said, we're going to need to spend more money with you.
Yeah.
And I said, okay.
Yeah, well, what we found was that, we were having those conversations, and with our managed IT customers, we've always done kind of the traditional QBR, SBR, whatever you want to call it nowadays. But what we found outside of those meetings is the only other times we were really talking to them was when their contract was coming due.
Right.
And it was, okay, now we're in contract negotiations, and those can get tense. And, maybe not everyone, Lee always says, both sides should feel a little burned at the end of a contract negotiation, because that means they both got something.
Yeah.
So, and that might leave a sour taste in your mouth, and we don't want every interaction to have a sour taste. So we're like, we need to be meeting more regularly with all of our customers. So when those tense conversations come around, you have all of that relationship building you did throughout the, 1, 2, 3 years before that contract comes due.
So it's interesting. So I've avoided contract negotiations and try to just, say, hey, let's talk about where we are and what we need to do for the next year.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I mentioned the way I asked that question was making it a much longer look.
Yeah.
What's happening in the next 3 to 5 years, do you think? And now I've, asked that of a couple of customers, and they have no clue. They're like, we don't know. I'm like, all right, well, if something comes up, let me know. Let me help you plan for it.
Yep.
And
we made a little playbook for our first. We're splitting the account management role because our account manager just left. So one of the things we're backfilling across 3 of us right now, myself included, just to kind of get it going. And we're asking the same 3 questions to all of our clients. So a little shorter looking. It's just, what changes have you made from a staffing perspective? Because we find that, the stakeholders are terrible with letting us know about onboards and offboards. It's just an eternal struggle for everybody. And what do your next 2 quarters look like? And, what are you happy or unhappy with about us?
Okay.
So it's all about the customer and getting direct feedback about how we're doing. It's not about, do you want to buy this? Do you want to buy that? It's more focused on the customer and our performance.
Okay.
Meeting.
Why 2 quarters?
Because we're like in a mid-quarter section right now. It's a little funky. So it's like through Q3 essentially is what I'm saying. So like the rest of Q2 and Q3. But just kind of like the next 6 months-ish. Just forward looking. Hey, what are the plans? And they might mention something a year or 2 out. Hey, I'm looking at this new office building or something like that. But just to get a pulse check and for us to get realigned now that we lost our account manager and we've moved account management in my shop and everything's in HubSpot and done very differently because I'm a HubSpot freak now since moving to that platform.
So I only know of HubSpot as, well, maybe it is a CRM, but it was mainly for the marketing people, because let's just say we had an incident a few years back where a marketing person started pushing HubSpot. Yeah,
I mean, implementation and kind of, having a good partner to help you through that can be everything. If you, I could say that with managed too, like if you have a poor implementation, you're going to hate it. But I think it helps to have a SME on your team that understands the tool and how to leverage it best.
Okay. So HubSpot, so you're using that as your CRM. Mm-hmm. Now, have you leveraged, you said you leveraged some other integrations. Are you talking about from your, RMM PSA type thing leverage, or?
For HubSpot or for just in general?
For HubSpot.
Yeah. I mean, right now it's kind of janky. So we use Quoter for quoting.
Okay.
So like we have HubSpot and then Quoter in the middle and then Manage on the other side. And Quoter basically acts as a proxy to move things from HubSpot through Quoter to Manage.
Okay.
But they have a new Manage integration. That's one of my rocks this quarter, EOS, is to integrate HubSpot and Manage. So I have a bunch of data cleanup and stuff I have to do to get that going. But then we should have like a consolidated user base. So if a billing person makes a billing admin change on the Manage side, it updates our billing mailing list in HubSpot. So just kind of, that was all manual work before managing that. So it should be a little nicer for me.
All right. So you mentioned Quozo for that. What about on the back end, getting all of your stats for billing out purposes? Are you using something like Gradient or?
No, we're actually in the middle of moving to Business Central. So this is pretty bleeding edge stuff.
Okay.
So we found some people in Australia that had built a manage integration with Business Central. And so it basically takes the agreement and pushes everything over to Business Central. And we should be billing out of there in the next couple months. It's taken about 6 months. And I
Okay.
can send you the information. It's when it's up and done, it's supposed to really revolutionize the amount of admin time that it gets rid of for us, because that's been a perennial pain that takes a disproportionate time of our owners' time that should be, dedicated elsewhere.
Now, am I understanding, maybe I'm thinking of the wrong thing, but Business Central, wasn't that, for some reason I have stuck in my head that it's on the same level as a Salesforce?
So Dynamics is probably what you're thinking
Dynamics,
of.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
So Microsoft Dynamics is kind of the parent product of Business Central.
Okay, all right.
So it's kind of like the SMB Dynamics. You can look at it as, but we're just using the subscription that gives us like the billing capabilities. It's actually pretty cheap.
Okay.
Relatively to, all the other things out there.
All right. So my Dynamics person out there, I want to look at Business Central.
I got a guy for you. I'll send him.
You do? Okay.
Yeah.
You got a lot of guys for me.
I make friends. What can I say?
Yeah. We're talking about a new recycling company, maybe.
Yeah. We're doing an event in Orlando in a couple months where everyone can bring all their old e-waste and drop it off for free with our recycling partner up there.
Where are they bringing it to your office?
No, we're going to have like 3 drop-off locations around the city and just say, hey, drop it off. You got an old printer, got an old computer, drop it all off, because usually you have to pay for that stuff.
Well, yeah.
So just educating the public on don't throw computers in the trash can.
All right. So Orlando. So let me guess. There's going to be a collection place at Church Street Station.
Maybe. I haven't gotten that far yet. Got to put my, event coordinator hat on and work on that a little bit. But we're waiting for, one of the big things that I've really been trying to do is leverage MDF from the vendors, so the marketing development funds. So I've got requests in with Dell and Veeam right now, 2 of our partners, to really sponsor the event. And we've gotten, thousands of dollars from other partners for various things. So, ask your vendors, and generally there's very rigid like MDF rules that you have to follow. But if you have a good relationship with your account manager, they'll connect you with the marketing person, and they have some wiggle room there.
Well, I mean, usually they want some sort of return,
Yep.
Whether it's marketing return or, dollar return or whatever. Because I've talked to Upriver's been here a couple of times trying to figure out what
they sponsor some case studies for us. They've done things for us. Yep.
So that'll be interesting. Let me know when that is, because I've got my 2 clients up there that.
Yeah, tell them to drop some stuff off.
Because usually it's me going up there and whatever fits in my car on the way back.
Yeah, I've been there, done that. I mean, box trucks, just emptying out offices, no box truck, and bringing it to the recycling site. I mean, yeah, it's not fun stuff.
All right. So I should probably actually take time right now to let you guys know that the IT Business Podcast is brought to you by Net Ally, your leader in network testing, diagnostics, everything that helps you design and test your networks. And the reason I bring them up is I had a conversation with my rep today. Actually, it started last night, but continued in today, that I am now on the list to get one of their new Cyberscope units when they are available from the factory. So I know that I had mentioned that they reached out when the new Cyberscope product became available. They wanted to set up a webinar, so we are working on that, but they're going to get a unit in my hands. And once that is here, we will talk about getting that set up. And I don't know if you know this, but Net Ally, I'll show you the tools when we're done here. But it goes out, can do a discovery of all the items on the network. You can do some testing, performance testing with cables, and testing of services and devices and some bunch of other stuff. But they've added now the cybersecurity component into their handheld unit, utilizing Nmap. And don't know much about it.
That's like what the honeypots use.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes and all of that. So check out netally.com. Also, our live show is presented to you by Computers Done Right, IT services out of Venice, Florida, on the other coast. So any help that you need, any referrals that you need to do in Southwest Florida, reach out to Computers Done Right. Our good friend John takes care of everybody over there. And Instant House Call. You've heard me talk about them. Corey Fruitman, our friend in the channel. If you are an emerging MSP, an IT professional looking for an RMM product to help you with remote support, and you're not yet ready to go to the big boys, Instant House Call is a product for you. And it is a great very easy to use remote access system with very little overhead for your client, and you can do all the same things as the big boys. You can white label it, and you can do some actual basic troubleshooting through the Instant House Call portal. So go to instanthousecall.com, try it free for 15 days, and you don't even have to put in a credit card to do so. All right. Matt, I know you are living down here in South Florida in the Kendall area. Here's a question that popped up earlier that I did not get to ask. So the company's based out of Orlando. You work out of Kendall.
Yep.
How much of your office is remote hands, or is the bulk of the office there in Orlando?
The bulk is there. We have one in Washington State.
Okay.
He works for me. He's one of my direct reports. And then we actually have some staffing in South Africa. We have a great tech down there that we're working with.
Okay.
But everybody else is in the Central Florida area. Office is closed on Fridays. Everybody works from home.
Get out.
Yeah. And well, we're open for customers, but
it's probably more because of traffic than anything, right?
Yeah. I mean, Mondays that everyone's in the office day, and Fridays everyone's out of the office day.
Okay.
And then throughout the rest of the week, everyone has their own schedule. Everyone's on a hybrid schedule.
Okay.
So everyone's doing like 2 or 3 days in the office per week.
All right. And is the bulk of your client base here in Florida?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. Our last 5 customers have been outside of the state.
Nice.
Yeah. So we're focusing down into that more healthcare niche, and with that, obviously,
yeah, there's no healthcare in Florida.
No, not at all. But yeah, I mean, the people that have problems, we find that going to these trade shows, we get FaceTime with 200 practice administrators in a 3-day span, when for me to talk to 200 practice administrators on the phone, it would take me all year.
Yeah.
So, and those people are from all over the US, and they've all got a lot of the same problems. And, we work with Field Nation a ton for local hands. Very easy. It's free to use.
Yeah.
The fee structure is very reasonable. And with our billable rate, we can just charge our billable rate and we still make money.
Yeah.
So we can service people anywhere. Our most recent customers in Atlanta.
Okay.
But we go up there once a quarter to visit them. We still, pride ourselves on building those relationships. So, when we onboard a new customer that's remote, we always go there first. So, because we want to see everything ourselves, we want to talk to people face to face, and then we try to make, regular visits ourselves as well. But all those in between touches are done via vendors.
All right, sweet. Well, the reason I mentioned that you guys were here in Florida is, and I hope you prepared for this, Florida man or random question. And did you know that Monday, or no, not Monday, yesterday was National Alligator Day?
I'm a Seminole, so I don't like that a ton. We don't like the gators around my parts.
Go Knowles. So there was a lot of emphasis put on the alligator nation this week. So I should probably say that this all started last week. And the interesting thing is, in Orlando, I don't know exactly where, but there was that alligator that shut down I-10 I-4 for half an hour.
I-4 is already a mess, so I can't imagine.
So an alligator was out wandering the streets there.
Was it a pet alligator?
I don't know.
That wouldn't shock me.
I don't know. So now down in Kendall, if I remember correctly, you guys are pretty close to some alligator egress areas there. So any Florida man or gator stories that you have?
No, but my entire neighborhood is surrounded by peacocks, which is something bizarre. And
peacocks?
Yeah, you would never think they're native to the area. So I'll walk out, and I literally took a picture yesterday about I walk out my front door and I get greeted by
riveting live video here, folks.
I know.
We're scrolling for. I'm on my phone looking up Florida man stories. He's doing that. But I will share this because of the National Alligator Day. There is an article that I will point to where it gives you what not to do on National Alligator Day. And basically it's, lowering your risk of encountering alligators. And the, let's just say the FSU rivals put out these following tips. And of course, the first one, don't feed wild alligators. You would think that that would not need to be said, but here in Florida, it needs to be said. Avoid throwing fish scraps in trash cans. Follow posted signs, only swim in designated swimming areas. Swim during daylight hours. This goes back to our Florida man story from last week where the dude walked out of a bar
Yeah,
at
I got his arm bitten off. I
1:40
saw that.
in the AM. And be vigilant with children and pets. Never allow small children to play unsupervised near water.
Yeah, just Florida things.
So
that's my neighborhood. My neighborhood. That's outside my front door on a daily basis.
Okay, so folks, we are not going to get a great shot of this, but there is
living in Kendall
a big old peacock outside Matt's front door. So we'll try to get a copy of that picture and put it up somewhere so everybody can see it. So at our townhouse, when we used to live there, it was about, I don't know, 15 years ago, we had a peacock that would come sit on our back patio.
Yeah, they roost.
And the wife was...
It's a nightmare.
There's
like 50 of them. They walk on a roof and then they fly to the trees from the roof.
Yeah.
And they walk in your cars too. And they have like talons that are this big.
Yeah, they are something.
They're pretty, but they're a menace.
And then one other note, since we're, talking about National Alligator Day, everybody should know that a study has been put out by FIU, which is a nice little university down here, Florida Institute University or something like that, Florida International University. But it was published in the Journal of Animal Ecology that shows that alligators do more than just care for themselves. When they create alligator ponds, they create a habitat for other organisms and move nutrients around. And this basically makes them engineers of our ecosystem down here, keeping it healthy. So they are necessary for the glades down here.
I'll just never forget the one rule I learned in elementary school is you run in a zigzag when you're running from an alligator.
But you know that that's not true?
Oh, well, great. I mean.
I probably should have marked this. But yeah, that is one of the things that, where is it?
So that's a tall tale.
So if you find yourself being bitten by an alligator, fighting back is recommended. Oh. However, attempting to pry open the jaws is not advisable. And where is, let me find it here. It was actually funny. But the bottom line is it's actually better to run in a straight line because I wish I could find this. Contrary to the old zigzag pattern, they actually don't do well running straight ahead for very long. So
learn something new every day.
I'll have to find that. It's funny you mentioned that. I was like, all right. Well, Matt, first of all, I should say thank you for braving the rain.
The traffic was worse than the rain, but it's all right. Anytime.
And to be an in-studio guest here at Studio B. And hopefully folks got a good look into your business. And so I should say your website, let me throw this up here. So Prosource is the name of the company. And I'll put a link in here. Getprosource.com is your website. So for people that want to look you guys up. And is there, so since you're not just rooted here in Florida and go all over, so you'll be available to help and consult and
yeah. I mean, if anyone has any questions, I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. I try to do content on YouTube, but there's a lot going on. So we try to post like a couple of videos a month about various.
I did have that in our notes.
Yeah, various.
Have a YouTube channel.
Yep, various. I mean, we have like 30 subscribers, but you got to start somewhere. So we just started that last year. But just educational stuff, and got a little Yeti mic now, better webcam. So hopefully, just improving the quality bit by bit.
I saw you also had a couple of things on LinkedIn, which you said LinkedIn isn't dead. Are you in the camp now with like everybody is throwing content on LinkedIn?
Yeah, it's a channel. I mean, you have to, if you're making the content, you have to omni-channel it.
Right.
So, put it in newsletters, put it on YouTube, put it on LinkedIn, put it on your website. So, it's not the only channel you should be worried about, but it is a channel that I think is worthwhile. But like I said, don't use those LinkedIn automators that just relentlessly spam people with InMail, because you'll just get ignored and then you'll end up in the spam side. So
LinkedIn automator.
yeah, I mean, there's so many now that just, automatically add people, automatically send them an InMail, a little message.
Oh, InMail.
So I say, hey, I want to connect with every single VP of tech in Miami, and I want to send them this message. And you hit a button and it spams like 3,000 messages out.
That's in there?
Yeah, with Sales Navigator and some other.
Is that part of the paid portion?
Yeah, you need the Sales Navigator,
and that ain't happening.
And then but I'm just saying, it's like, those are the types of tactics that I think people turn people off on LinkedIn. But the value in LinkedIn is if you're contributing to a conversation,
right?
Which requires time and effort and thought, which is harder than just connecting a tool and spamming out a message with little input. So I think people misunderstand the value there sometimes.
All right. So let me ask this. So I did a show last week that was an audio only, where a gentleman had written a book straight from the bot's mouth, basically a conversation that he had with ChatGPT, turned it into a book. And I did a show on another podcast with a guy where we talked about AI in general and what it means for, he wanted to ask me, what does it really mean for us?
Mm-hmm.
And I just had, so when I thought you might be late today, I actually put out the feelers to all my people. I'm like, hey, what's a question you might have in case I need to do something? And it's funny, what about ChatGPT and the ups and downs? So my question is, I know that you do a lot of development, you're doing the content for you guys. So one, are you using ChatGPT or AI for the marketing development? And then second, are you guys using it in your stack at all?
Marketing, absolutely, 100%. I mean, it's not perfect. It gets you 80% of the way. And I'll take that any day over staring at a blank Word document, figuring out what I'm going to say. So I used it this week. We have a press release going out. We did like a park cleanup event with the city of Orlando, wanted to do a press release. And, those tools, they're language learning models. So what you feed in, the better the content you feed in, the better output you get.
Right.
So, I fed it loose guidelines in terms of what I wanted to spit out, and it was 80% of the way there. And it's structured correctly for a press release. You insert pull quote here, all those things. And
right.
An hour later, after a little bit of, editing or copy editing and getting a couple people to review it, I had a fully fleshed out press release scheduled on PR Web. Okay. And before, that would have taken me 2 days to think of it, type it, hate it, delete it, type something else, send it to somebody else. They, wreck it. So, my writing is not my background. Something I've had to learn to do, which Everybody Writes is a phenomenal book when you talk about writing and communicating with people. One of the first things I read when I understood I had to become a marketer. Everybody writes. Yep. Okay. It just teaches you about communicating with people succinctly, and forgetting about the minutia and all of that extra stuff that us technical brain people really care about, but doesn't convey well, and people just tune out.
Okay. And have you been integrating it at all into the actual business?
In terms of like providing services, not really at the moment. No. It's more so just on the marketing front, helping us develop copy. I actually brought a flyer to kind of show you our branding and messaging at the moment.
Okay.
To show you kind of where we are. But yeah, that's mostly marketing, I'd say.
Okay. All right. Well, Matt, that's going to do it for the show. Thanks a lot for stopping by, folks. Thank you for those of you that watched live. Really appreciate it. For those of you in the chat, Mark and Eric and John and somebody else was in there, but thank you all for hanging out. This is the show that I try to do every single Wednesday. Now, it's going to get funky over the next few weeks because I will be traveling, but we do have shows planned for each Wednesday. Except for the Wednesday, I think it's the 21st of June, when I will be in Tampa for the ASCII event. But every other Wednesday will be a show. And then, of course, we'll have some shows and audio sprinkled out throughout the day, especially when I'm at PAX 8 Beyond. Be looking for the one with Rob Ray. the godfather of the channel. So that will be there. That's going to do it, folks, for this episode. Thank you guys for hanging out and listening, downloading, and subscribing. Hey, head over to the website and support our sponsors. Maybe click the link for the Amazon page, and I'm going to put a link to this Everybody Writes book and some of the other stuff out there, and all that goes to help the show. That's going to do it, folks. Thanks for hanging out. And until next week, holla.